Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Arrow Insights. Today, I'm Mathew Ashton. Today I'm here with Peter Leggett, and we're here to talk about giving while living. So Peter, what exactly are we talking about here? What's giving while living?
Probably a good question. It's probably a good way to start. Matt, I might just go back a couple of steps if I could to build a bit of a story. So our clients come to us and they talk to us about their core values and their goals and objectives, and it breaks down over a time period. They've got liquidity requirements, they've got lifestyle requirements, and they've got longevity requirements. And that's mapping out and the advice that you give and the team gives around that. But the last part that's really pivotal to many of our clients is this issue around family succession planning, or we call it giving while living, or another way to call it is living legacy. And what's changed over the last generation, and particularly the baby boomers, they were born and grew up in a different era. Their parents and grandparents, and we probably know that ourselves, this was difficult times for them. They grew up in Depression times and Second World War times, and it was actually about preserving what they had because that world of uncertainty was behind them. Okay, today's generation, and particularly those that have got money, substantial money or money coming in transition, are thinking differently than what their parents was. And so this issue for us is engaging them in a conversation around the things that are important, their heart and mind. And unsurprisingly, we know this, it's around their family succession. But it's not just putting it in order such that when they die, here's the money, hand down to the kids or the grandkids. The change of conversation that we're having, and I'll flip back to you to think of some of the conversations that you've been having recently, is about helping their families, and in some cases philanthropic causes, charitable giving, not-for-profits, whilst they're still alive. And so there's a number of benefits of that. They're seeing how it plays out with their family. A phrase that I've used for many, many years is, don't die and then leave your money and your own children fly first class. Take your family to Disneyland, experience the joy of your children and your grandchildren in particular, experiencing all that part. Set up and share and enjoy the benefits of giving whilst living. Now, Matt, you've done a lot of this sort of work. It's a key speciality of yours in family succession. Why don't you share back to me a little bit of what that looks like in some of your own client experiences?
Yeah, sure. I think what I've noticed a lot since I started working in financial planning is the change in the conversation. I think a lot of clients are concerned with their own children, given the amount how property values have increased.
Yeah.
They worry that their kids can't to afford houses, or bank of mum and dad, or property purchase is something that comes up quite a lot. And it's because of the way things have changed over time, rather than I think everybody's always wanted to help their families, particularly if they've got those sort of values, and it's important to them. But it's also on the other side, the economic situation they find themselves.
Yep. I think today our experience is that we're dealing with a lot more capital. For a whole variety of reasons. Our society has grown dramatically. Property prices, equity prices, business prices. We're inheriting money, businesses are being sold, property downsizing, and of course the explosion over the last 20 or 30 years of superannuation. That's made a massive difference for people as well. This concept of living legacy, where we're saying work out what's important to you around your legacy, but be part of it all in their life. Share with us grandparents down to grandchildren. What are some of the things that they're talking about and are wanting to put in place for their own broader family?
Yeah, I'll just go back a step, Peter. When I talk about, and I'll talk about the grandchildren as well. But one thing we haven't really spoken about is the increase of longevity of our clients. Because we're living a lot longer, and our children are living so in a traditional sort of family succession concept with you leave a big estate or something. Your children have already grown up, so they've gone through the difficult periods of having to budget and scrimp and save, and so they don't really need the capital or of a big influx of capital at that part of their lives. So actually doing it now kind of makes sense from that point of view.
Yeah.
And with the grandchildren, I mean, a lot of people have for the rising education costs.
Yep.
And that's obviously a big impact on both children and grandchildren. And so a lot of grandparents choose to actually fund or contribute in some way
Yep.
to support that.
Yep.
And that helps everybody. It makes the family stronger and supportive, and if that's important to you, that they have a good education, then that's something
Yep.
that they certainly do.
You make an excellent point, Matt, where about longevity. When I first joined the industry quite some time ago, the average life expectancy of a male who was retiring at age 65 was to 74.8 years of age. I mean, it literally was almost around the corner. They worked all their life, retired, did a couple of things, and died. Whereas today, you hear someone who's passing away at 74 and you think, gee, that's miles too young. And in fact, our health statistics are way for male and females, way into the 80s. And we know many people are living well into their 90s these days as well. So exactly your point, money comes on the table and they've already been through their expensive years. And so now this concept of living legacy, doing things whilst and getting the benefits and the joy of that part of it as well.
So Peter, having made the decision that you want to engage in giving while living, what are some of the next steps that our clients need to consider?
An important part of that is, first of all, being clear with themselves, individually or as a couple or as a family, what it is that is important to them. So understanding those core values and what those specific goals and objectives are. And for us as an organisation, for many of our clients and prospects, that's the starting point. We start with what we've called a discovery meeting, talking about their values, their goals and objectives, the things they'd like to achieve, both for themselves as well as for the broader family. And then the second part of that thing says, okay, what's the advice? How do I need to structure my assets? So I'm preserving my assets, I'm protecting my assets, but I also want to set in place the transfer of my assets, whatever that might be. What are the structures you've got in place there? That's not only tax planning, but in the thoughts around family law these days. So you might have aspects of where you want to hand down to the family, but do you want to keep it in the bloodline? What's the aspects of relationship with your children and or your grandchildren? Are there special needs? Do we need to put aside a little bit of extra money for a grandchild who's got special needs? And we're seeing that a lot more these days as well. And so the aspect of getting the right structures is really critical, and the strategy around all of that part of it as well. And that's part of what we can do. And then the last part of that is bringing the experts to the table. But we bring them to the table, the elite team, when they're clear about what it is and how they want to live all those parts of it out. So there are a number of steps here. And for us, we love this sort of conversation. We love engaging in this sort of advice. It's got nothing to do with managing money. It's all about the things that are in our clients' hearts and minds.
Great. I think I'll just add the important thing from my client's point of view is to make sure that all the lines of communication are open.
Yeah.
That you're keeping all family members informed, and you let them know exactly what you intend to do and the reasons why. Yeah. Just to avoid any sort of family disharmony that might occur as a result of the process.
Yeah, great.
And if it's all on the same page, it's all out in the open, there can't be any sort of miscommunications and things like that.
One of the things that I really enjoy, and I know you do likewise, is what we call family succession meetings. We're talking about that. The children are in the room, mum and dad are talking about what they're wanting for their family whilst they're still here. And there's been some extraordinary emotional conversations that we've kind of facilitated but been part of, but seeing how the interaction and clarity from their parents, and that's broadly what we're talking about here, clarity about what they want to happen, so the family's clear about that. So that's an excellent point as well.
Excellent, great. Well, thanks, Peter. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thanks for spending some time with us. Thanks to our listeners for listening in and hopefully you gained some insights. look forward to catching up next time. And if you've got any questions, please reach out to Peter and myself or any of the rest of the team at Arrow. So thank you very much.